Cairo 7 News at 5 o'clock starts right now.
And we have breaking news. A teenage boy was shot in the face at Joint Base Lewis-McChord. He was with two other teenagers, but it is unclear right now who pulled the trigger.
Cairo 7's Graham Johnson is live just off base from JBLM. Graham?
The FBI is now here taking over this case because it happened on federal property that begins just at the end of this road here. Lakewood police tell us two teenage brothers and another boy left this Lakewood neighborhood, went through a hole in the fence just beyond where you see those police there, and walked into woods that are on base at Joint Base Lewis-McChord. One of the boys had a handgun and it went off. Medics rushed the 13-year-old victim from the scene with serious to critical injuries after he was shot in the face. Police tell me he was in the woods with his 14-year-old brother and a 17-year-old boy. That 17-year-old is now being detained as police try to figure out if the shooting was accidental.
And it's sad.
Military police rolled into Lakewood's Woodbrook neighborhood late this afternoon to investigate a shooting in the woods involving three teenagers. We saw Lakewood police talking with what appeared to be family members after a gun went off, critically injuring a 13-year-old boy.
It's tragically sad.
Joanne Beardemple lives down the road from the scene and says her barking dogs alerted her to trouble.
My son says, Mom, I think something happened up there because, like I say, my dogs were really barking.
She later saw a teenage boy walking up and down the road on his cell phone, possibly directing police to the scene. Investigators are just beginning their work. They say details of the shooting remain unclear. Does it appear to be accidental?
We don't know. It's too early at this point.
Lakewood police tell me they are investigating where the boys got the gun and plan to hold any adult responsible accountable. We do not know the boy's current condition at the hospital. We will let you know when we find that out. Live in Lakewood, Graham Johnson, Cairo 7 News.
A lot of prayers for that boy and his family. Thank you, Graham.
Whoever out there, my mom is a forgiving person, but responsibility is a civilized thing.
The son of a beloved Kitsap County wife and grandmother killed by a hit-and-run driver wants the man or woman responsible to come forward. Nearly 1 week later, that driver still has not been identified, much less arrested.
Cairo 7's Amy Clancy spoke with the dead woman's family today. They are pleading for information so justice can be served.
Chris Lucasen was walking along this stretch of Victory Drive Southwest last Wednesday when she was suddenly struck by a hit-and-run driver just yards from her own home.
I'm just going to miss her dearly.
There's an empty space in Mark Lucasen's life now that his wife of 47 years is dead. He and Chris Lucasen got married while still in high school at the age of 17 and lived together in this home for nearly 50 years, where they raised their son and daughter who still live nearby.
She was the most caring person I've ever known. She's my best friend.
My mom was this family, and the reason we're still holding together is because of the way she raised us.
Flowers mark the side of the road where Lucasen was found unconscious, gravely injured midday last Wednesday. She was airlifted to Harborview Medical Center, where she later died.
We love you, Mom, and we miss you.
Investigators with the Washington State Patrol believe Lucasen was struck by a hit-and-run driver while on her daily walk through the Sunny Slope neighborhood. Today, while her family greeted well-wishers, investigators combed through evidence found at the scene, tracking down possible leads.
Whoever has done this, I hope you have a heavy heart right now.
Claim responsibility. Let God invade your heart. Please, come forward.
The Washington State Patrol is hoping that someone along this road may have surveillance video that will lead them to the driver. Reporting outside Port Orchard, Amy Clancy, Cairo 7 News.
Well, this is the dog Seattle police are describing as a furry fury for chasing would-be burglars right out of her home. The 35-pound pup is on the mend after getting gashed by glass from a broken window. And new at 5 o'clock, Cairo 7's Henry Rossoff is in South Seattle and just spoke with a very proud homeowner. Henry.
The burglar tried to force his way in through this window right here when he came face-to-face with the 35-pound dog, Egypt. Unfortunately, Egypt was hurt by the broken glass from this window while defending her home.
She's really quite the alarm dog. One of her favorite things is patrolling the house and checking all the windows.
Now Emily Masitis' dog Egypt is at the vet's office having surgery for gashes on her paws after she chased off the would-be burglar who tried coming in through the window.
Someone had been trying to potentially get into the house, and Egypt, the dog, had scared them away, and in the process of scaring them away, she broke through this the window, and she had lacerations on her forepaws.
A neighbor heard the commotion and called 911. Police heard Egypt barking inside and climbed through the window to find blood on the couch and floor. They bandaged up the brave 35-pound pup and stayed with her until Masitis came home and took her to the vet.
I'm really thankful to the police department for taking that initiative to come inside, because I don't think Egypt would be with us right now if they hadn't.
The vet had to surgically repair tendons in the paws, so these gashes were really quite deep. The burglar did get away, so if you know anything about this home invasion, go ahead and call Seattle Police. Live on Seattle's South Side, Henry Rossoff, Cairo 7 News.
Highway 2 has been called the Highway of Death, but the State Department of Transportation hopes a big change will save lives. Today, the speed limit was lowered by 10 miles an hour on a particularly dangerous stretch of that highway. Cairo 7's Joanna Small is live in Monroe to show you exactly where. Joanna.
Steve, really ask anybody here or in Gold Bar or Sultan, and they will tell you all of Highway 2 is dangerous. But what may be the very worst stretch is really just west of Index, and that is where, starting today, drivers will need to slow down.
Oh, God, yes.
That was Steve Anderson's response when we asked him if drivers speed on Highway 2.
I've seen him, but I don't look.
And that was his response when we asked if he's witnessed any collisions from his home in Gold Bar, just off the highway. He says some have been so bad he didn't want to get anywhere near them.
It's like a semi a few years ago. Somehow he went off the road and went over the cliff.
The worst stretch of 2 may be this one, between mile markers 35 and 36.32, just west of Index.
That's where most of the accidents are happening.
The Washington State Patrol says between 2011 and now, there have been 165 wrecks on a 10-mile section of Highway 2, from mile marker 30 to 40. 5 were serious injury or deadly collisions. So today, WashDOT dropped the speed limit here from 60 to 50.
I think it's a great idea.
Dave Anderson's delivery route includes that part of 2, and he's been slowing down for years.
I usually go 5 under through there, so like 45 to 55 basically.
He's relieved other drivers will now have to do the same.
People think the farther out they get, they can do, drive faster, and it's not necessarily true, especially through there. And I've seen bears through there, and obviously deer, and so you never know what's around the next corner, put it that way.
It's just science. We know that the slower we're going, the quicker we're able to stop, but just how much quicker? We're going to answer that question coming up at 6 o'clock. But for now, live in Monroe, Joanna Small, Cairo 7 News.
The Kitsap County Sheriff is looking for this man wanted in connection with a shooting. Deputies say Zachariah Chadwick shot the victim, then drove off in a stolen 1990 Ford Mustang. The car is dark gray and has a Washington license plate AND 4827. The shooting happened on a dead end of a rural part of central Kitsap County. The victim is expected to survive, and the sheriff's office has not said what led up to that shooting.
The Seahawks just placed Derek Coleman back on the 53-man roster. Coleman was suspended by the team after being arrested for hit and run following a 2-car accident in Bellevue last week. The fullback has not been charged, and there's no word from the Hawks on whether he will play Thursday night against the 49ers.
For the first time in 12 years, the American Cancer Society has updated its guidelines for when women should get mammograms. Their advice: screen later and less often. Sherry Forrest had her first mammogram at age 35 after she felt a lump in her breast. Luckily, it was a false alarm.
I've gone every year since.
The American Cancer Society is now recommending women at average risk have yearly mammograms starting at age 45, not 40. Study author Dr. Kevin Offinger says the benefits far outweigh the harms starting at 45.
Between 40 and 44, breast cancer is less common.
there is still the risk for a false positive, and so we thought that that needs to be an informed, shared decision between the woman and her healthcare provider.
Starting at 55, the American Cancer Society recommends screenings every 2 years. Another big factor in the new guidelines, shared decision-making. Dr. Paula Lozano with Group Health in Seattle describes it as a collaborative conversation between women and their doctors.
The shared decision-making process really helps women figure out what their values are, what their preferences are, and make decisions that are right for them.
Some doctors say the guidelines are confusing and only take into account breast cancer deaths and not quality of life for survivors. The chief of breast screening at Lenox Hill Hospital recommends all women start yearly mammograms at age 40.
Women who develop breast cancer in their 40s, early 40s, develop a very aggressive breast cancer, and it spreads rapidly.
Forrest says she's had a few false positives in her early mammograms.
It's scary when you're waiting to find out results.
But she says she'd rather have the screenings than cancer. The new guidelines by the American Cancer Society also get rid of the annual clinical breast exam by a doctor.
Japan has confirmed the first case of cancer stemming from the dangerous work to take the Fukushima nuclear reactor offline. The country's health ministry said that a former worker has been diagnosed with leukemia. 10 other former Fukushima workers have filed similar cases following the devastating earthquake and tsunami 4 years ago. 7 of those cases were dropped, 3 are pending.
There is a new push to find Donnie Chin's killer. Police have a new tool to find the gunman. And coming up, we are taking the new wanted poster to the people who knew Chin best.
And you could be taxed for every mile you drive. Coming up, Cairo 7 breaks down who would be paying more and by how much.
Is there a bright side of global warming? UW researchers say get ready for more people moving to Seattle for the sunshine. We are breaking down the science behind that study next.
Plenty of sunshine around the Sound this afternoon. Also quite a few 60s on the map. But there are changes in your Cairo 7 pinpoint forecast. That's coming up at 5:28.